Hi everyone, in this video I am going to tell you about India's foreign policy. In this video I am going to tell you the foreign policy of India taken since independence upon Jawaharlal Nehru, and then I will tell the foreign policy adopted by his daughter Indira Gandhi and Indira Gandhi's son Rajiv Gandhi, and then I will tell the foreign policy of P.V. Narasimha Rao and Dr. Manmohan Singh, and thereafter I will tell you the foreign policy taken by our contemporary Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Hi. So in this video I told you that I will tell about foreign policy of India since Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to contemporary Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, but why foreign policy? Why it is important to discuss? Because it is foreign policy by which the countries everywhere in the world try to showcase their soft power, their military power, their diplomatic power, and their relation, and how they are looking at the world, and they want to promote peace, they want to promote progress, they want to promote brotherhood, they want to promote their culture, they want to promote their literature, they want to promote their language, they want to promote their games and sports. Everything are promoted from one country to another country through foreign policy. Okay, so the aim of this video is to tell the audience or you about the foreign policy of from Pandit Nehru. Definitely I will discuss, but I will put emphasis on the foreign policy taken by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, so I would like to at first say that what is foreign policy. So what is foreign policy? Most of you, the students of political science or the general people know a little bit about foreign policy, but definitely the political scientists or the professors of international relations are very much aware about it. Okay, so what is the foreign policy of a country and why it is important, and what are the salient features of foreign policy, and how far India's foreign policy is instrumental in making a global superpower. Okay, so here India now is visualizing to become a superpower by 2047. Okay, so this is the vision, or this is the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and how we can become a $30 trillion economy by 2047, how we can increase our GDP and GDP per capita income, foreign direct investment, industrialization, setting up of more MSMEs, and Make in India program, and all those things are here. Government of India has taken as a domestic policy. But what are the international policies or foreign policy that is helping India to be a global promoter of peace, global leader of prosperity, global leader of tranquility, global leader of peace through negotiation, peace through dialogue, peace through diplomacy. So this is a great foreign policy and multilateralism that I will tell you one by one. Okay, so all these issues are very important that I told you that India's foreign policy, why it is important, and how far India's foreign policy has been changed since independence. Right? In the Dinesh Kumar once he wrote in one of his books. He wrote that foreign policies are developed by governments. Why the foreign policies are developed? Because the governments of diverse countries utilizing high-level decision-making procedures, because national interests are paramount. National interest, remember, national interest is the paramount. Okay, and it matters a lot how the rest of the world regards a country. So foreign policies that are harsh, including dealing with the issues of other nations, may lead to military action or economic embargoes being used often. Right? So Indian foreign policy is largely concerned with the maintaining of cordial ties with all countries, especially with the neighboring countries, and it has been built on the principles of non-alignment and Panchsheel. the world knows, entire world, anywhere in the world, all the heads of leaders of countries, they know that India has adopted a policy of non-alignment and Panchsheel since independence, right? So yeah, I will tell you what is Panchsheel and what is non-alignment, because after the in the post World War II period, government of India, when became independent in 1947, they thought that they will neither join any bloc, neither that South bloc led by United States of America, nor North bloc headed by Soviet Russia. Okay, so Jawaharlal Nehru, our honorable Prime Minister, then thought that we will take up, or we will adopt a policy that is called non-alignment. We will not be aligned with any of the blocks. Okay, and Panchsheel, what is Panchsheel, that I will tell you later. Okay, so according to Stephen Philip Cohen, he said that there is an idealistic tone of India's foreign policy that stems from Gandhian idealism. Okay, so the idealism is one of the reasons that India is on the largest supporters of UN peacekeeping operations. Indian strategists are also keenly aware that their international status, especially within the developing world, depends on their idealistic behavior. Successive Indian governments have aspired to greater power status in one form or other, and ambition based on India's sense of their history, on their ideology, and their emerging economic power, unquote. Okay, so however, it seems that India's foreign policy was influenced by Gandhiji's thought. In Young India, Gandhiji wrote that actually in Young India there was a correspondent from Ludhiana, and he asked some questions to Gandhiji, and what answered Gandhiji gave. Okay, from that introduction we can understand that the question and answer, he said, Gandhiji said that I shall India's foreign policy be governed. I think that India's foreign policy should be governed by any other consideration but that of its population. Okay, so naturally the interest of India must be given preference over all others. So Gandhiji said that interest of India should be given emphasis, should be given preference over all other things. So India's national interest is the first and foremost thing. Okay, this is quite natural. Everybody, all the countries give it at first priority to their own national interest. Okay, so further, a country's foreign policy encompasses more than just its international policies. It also includes its commitment, present interests and ambitions, and the values of proper conduct that it espouses, right? So through foreign policy, like any other country, India also seeks to promote an international interest, a national interest, international interest, establish its dignity in foreign lands. Okay, so like any other country, India also seeks to promote its national interest, behavior to attain its own goals and objectives. Okay, and it wants to regulate others' behavior also. Indian government also tries to or attempts to regulate others' behavior also through foreign policy, right? So Mahendra Kumar once said that the aim of foreign policy should be to regulate and not merely to change the behavior of other states. Okay, so regulation means adjusting the behavior of other states to suit one's own interest as best as possible, right? So in the pre-independence period, India's foreign policy was guided by the interest of British government, because at that time there was no any independent government, but India adopted an independent foreign policy as soon as it attained freedom. The root of India's foreign policy was formed in the resolution regarding aims and objects of the Assembly, okay, on 13 December 1946, where we find that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru moved a resolution. Therein, paragraph 8, in the paragraph of 8, it is written that the ancient land, I mean India is an ancient land. These ancient land attains the rightful and honored place in the world and makes its full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and welfare of mankind. Promotion of peace and welfare of mankind. You see the foreign policy root of India's foreign policy is being shaped by Nehru's conversation or Nehru's Nehru's words mentioned in the resolution. Okay, so I said that contribution and promote world peace and welfare of mankind. Further, Article 51 of the Constitution is a pledge to the to that, and it says that India will work. What does Article 51 of the Constitution of India say? It says that India will work for the promotion of world peace and security, enhancement of international law and treaty obligations, and settlement of its differences with other countries by peaceful means. So, everybody, you understand what is the root of foreign policy of India? Why the world leaders respect India? Why the people respect India? Why the political leaders respect Indian Prime Minister? Okay, India as a whole is being respected throughout the world. Okay, because of its non-alignment and Panchsheel policies. What is non-alignment and Panchsheel? Let me discuss. Right. So, in the aftermath of the Second World War, when the world was bifurcated into two war groups, that is, I told you that between US and Russia, but India joined none. India joined none. Okay, so the warlike situation is described as Cold War. There is no war, direct war. There was no any direct war, but there was a proxy war, or that is called. Okay, that is called Cold War. Alright. So the Cold War has been described as, what is Cold War? So Cold War has been described as a situation in which each side continuously envisages war with the acknowledged rival. It is a state of continuous preparation for war and continuous war alert, compatible with all forms of organized violence short of direct encounters between the armed forces of the two superpowers. Okay, so the world was divided into two belligerent groups. It was an implicit arrangement in any military alliance is that weaker power surrenders some part of its freedom of action to the stronger power in return of a guarantee of security, right? This is the normal tendency of the weaker states or weaker countries, right? So, due to military weakness, the non-aligned countries had to rely upon the international system and the balance of power to provide their security in the short run. Okay. So, P.R. Chari illustrates that the strategy of non-alignment. What is non-alignment? Non-alignment, that has been described very nicely by P.R. Chari, right. So, he said, quote, the strategy of non-alignment also implemented buying time through maintaining maximum independence of policy by keeping aloof from the Cold War politics of two blocs, during which they could develop themselves first in the economic field and then in the military field, unquote. So, thus it is seen as being an essentially anti-status quo movement with the characteristic of a dynamic policy, right. So, one of the major characteristics of non-aligned policy is its ability to judge international issues on merit. Understand? So, military alliances, on the contrary, are now becoming outmoded concepts. SEATO, S-E-A-T-O, has ceased to exist as a defense arrangement. The Datat between the United States and China destroyed a security arrangement designed primarily to contain the Chinese communist threat. The NATO is under strain. Despite some constraints, NATO is standing and still active in countering threats to democracy and global peace and stability, right. So, in the post-World War II era, when the world was bifurcated into two blocks, namely the Western Bloc led by USA and Eastern Bloc. Okay, this is people say it as an Eastern Bloc essentially by Soviet Russia, the Soviet Union, the developing countries and newly independent countries, because in the second half of the or since the beginning of the 20th century, gradually the countries began to get freedom from their colonial masters. Okay, the developing countries and newly independent countries were drawn into any of the two blocks. But India, being a proud and dignified country, for thousands of years decided under the first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru that it would not join any bloc, that India would not join any bloc. Okay, so that is why NAM originated. NAM means non-alignment movement, N non-alignment movement, that is the short form NAM, but the full form is non-alignment movement, originated from a meeting actually held in 1955 of several Asian and African countries in Bandung, Indonesia. Okay, the non-alignment was coined by Indian Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in his famous speech in 1954 in Colombo, Sri Lanka. You see, the particular word non-aligned movement or NAN, it was originated from the head or from the brain of our Prime Minister, okay, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So, founding fathers of the movement were Joseph Broz Tito of Yugoslavia, right, and Sukarno of Indonesia, we all know, and Gamal Abdel actually Nasser of Egypt. Okay, so Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and Jawaharlal Nehru from India. So these were the leaders of NAM first. Okay, founding fathers of NAM. So NAM's main principles were what popularly known as Panchsheel. So NAM's or non-aligned movements main principles are 5 principles. Those are popularly known as Panchsheel. Panch means in Indian language, Indian Hindi language, Panch means 5, right? Panch, 5 principles. Panchsheel means Panch, 5 principles. Okay, so though they were originally formulated by Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai or Zhou Enlai in the context of Sino-Indian relations. Okay, the 5 principles are, what are the 5 principles of Panchsheel? The 5 principles are mutual respect for each other's territory, mutual respect for each other's territory, number 1, number 2, sovereignty, number 3, mutual non-aggression, number 3, non-interference in each other's internal affairs. So, and then equality and mutual benefit, and then peaceful coexistence. If this Panchsheel policy is abided by the world leaders, then there will not be any war, there will not be any intrusion, there will not be any refugee problem, there will not be any other problem. Many problems will be solved if the Panchsheel policy or non-alignment, not non-alignment, I will say, if these Panchsheel policies are adopted by the world leaders. Okay, with this I will conclude the first part of India's foreign policy. Okay, and in the next video I will tell you about the objectives of foreign policy, right? Okay, so please listen to the second part of this series of videos on Indian foreign policy. Thank you.